We got a special edition interview for you guys. Happy Fight Week for LFA 6. And joining us right now, one half of the main event, Ray Rodriguez. Thank you for the time. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic, man. Just spending some time with the family and losing these last couple pounds before the fight, man. I'm excited. Thank you guys for having me.
Fight week for you. Is this a slow down week or a very busy week for you?
As far as media and stuff like that, PR, it's very busy, but training wise, it's super light. Like I said, I trained this morning a little bit, and it was more just technique and stuff like that. There's no more hard training for me. Everything else is just letting my body recover from camp, letting all the injuries heal that I've accrued during camp, and just letting my body kind of decompress and get ready to fight on Friday night.
How much of this week is that mental aspect? Staying focused, but not getting overzealous.
Oh, it's huge, man. This is my first camp in a little while to where I've really just been able to hang out the last week of camp. My weight's fantastic. Everything's good, like you said. Everything's just going over game plan and making sure everything's right. Going into the fight mentally, physically, and just making sure all of my tools are sharpened before I go to war.
And how much busier of a week is this for you, being a main event, being that the fight is in your backyard? How many different directions are you being yanked in, promotionally wise, having to put over the fight, make sure that it's a sellout?
Oh, it's insane, brother. I think this is my 26th interview this week and last week combined. I think I'm on 20-something altogether with local newspapers and stuff like that. So it's something that I like. You know, I don't mind doing it. I love talking to you guys, and it's huge. I mean, being able to talk about the fight itself and really market the fight is something that I'm going to have to learn to do whenever I'm fighting for that UFC title and whenever I'm headlining these UFC cards. So it's good. It's good to have it, to be exposed to it right now. And I love doing it, man. Like I said, I love talking to you guys, and the questions you ask are always awesome. I don't mind talking about my career or anything. So, yeah, it's been a lot. This is by far the most I've ever had to, or I've ever done media. I fought for Combate Americas 2 fights ago, and I was the main event on UFC Fight Pass. And we did a little bit of media, but nothing as intense as this fight with LFA. But like I said, man, I love it. I like to do it.
Coming up, you had a little experience in Legacy, then with Rock Extreme. Did you expect to have this kind of media responsibilities from Combate, from LFA? Were you expecting this with the win streak that you're on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely consider myself at the higher echelon of the sport. I'm one of the best in the world, and I'm headlining one of the best cards in the world. So, yeah, it was something that was expected, and I kind of knew it was coming, especially headlining LFA versus a super tough and durable opponent like Rivaldo Jr. Fighting for LFA is an absolute honor, and being able to headline LFA cards, it's a blessing, honestly.
With all this media you've been doing, what has been the most repetitively asked question?
Not that. I'll tell you what, that's the first time anyone's asked me that. I would say just kind of how I got into the sport. I talk about I was in the military for 6 years, and I started fighting whenever I was in the Modern Army Combatives program in the Army. So they asked me about that, how I get into the sport. I've also been asked what was the difference between, I had a 2-fight losing streak about 2 years ago, and these last 2 years I'm on a 6-fight winning streak with 5 submissions. So they asked me what the difference was and stuff like that. So those have probably been the most asked questions.
Okay, well, then let's go with it. Let's hear about how you got into the combatives and how that inspired you to go forward with this crazy sport we call MMA.
Yeah, well, whenever I was in basic training in the Army, I was stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was exposed to this combatives program. They set off a small block of instruction for combatives, and basically we kind of just rolled around in a pit and did a little bit of jiu-jitsu, and I did fairly well. So I figured I had some potential in the sport. So I did good in basic training, and then whenever I was stationed in Belgium, there was a combatives program in Grafenweer, Germany, which was like 8 hours from where I was from, and I was still super young in the military. And my higher ups basically told me I could do it, but they're not going to fly me out there or anything like that. So if I wanted to do it, I was going to be paid out of pocket. So I rented this dope little smart car and drove 8 hours on the Autobahn, going no faster than 60 miles per hour, and I had people just blowing past me, flicking me off, and just I was going so slow in those damn smart cars. They don't go fast. So I made it. It was like an 8 hour trip, but I made it, and I won. They had the program itself, and they also have like this little King of the Ring tournament. And I would say there was maybe like 15 or 20 of us in the class, and I won that tournament, which I wasn't going against killers or anything. You know what I mean? It was people who were very new to the sport, but in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm the champ of the world, right? So I figured I had some potential again in the sport, and I was like, you know what, let's just go with this. So I got back to my duty station in Belgium, and I found a gym that was like 30 minutes north. And mind you, this is within like the first month or two whenever I was stationed there at Belgium, so I didn't know how to get around the country. I didn't have a ride at the time, so I would have to take like 2 hours worth of trains just to get to that to practice. So I did that for about a month. Found this gym under Coach Ludo Bolvin, who was a big name in Belgium at the time, and walked into the gym, and they asked me if I had trained before, and I give the typical newcomer's response, which was like, yeah, I have all these street fights and whatever, and I'm ready to go, right? So it just so happened that the first day I walked into that gym, it was a sparring day, and I just got blown away. I just got the brakes beat off me. Like, it was embarrassing, you know, but at the same time, it was humbling. So I got beat up that day, and I went back the next day, and the butt whoopings were a little bit less and a little bit less every time until I started getting the better of some of the guys. So they asked me if I wanted to have a fight. There was the Shido European Amateur Championships were coming up, so I entered in that, and I went 2-1. And these are the best from all over Europe. So we fought in Holland, and I did fairly well, and it just kind of kept on going from then. Once I got back from Belgium, I was stationed in Fort Hood, which is like the most deployed duty station in the entire world. So I kind of knew what was going to happen whenever I went to Fort Hood. So I deployed to Iraq. I got some training over there, and as soon as I got back, one of the higher ups and the head of the combatives program at Fort Hood kind of caught wind that I was a fairly good fighter, and I had some experience. So he asked me if I wanted to be a combatives instructor, which basically what we did was we trained soldiers to go downrange and defend themselves. Not only defend themselves, but defeat the enemy without saying too much.
Yeah.
If something were to happen, if they were to lose their weapon, they were in a hand-to-hand type situation. So I did that for 3 years, man, and it was an absolute dream job, something that I loved. I loved being able to teach soldiers something that they can actually use in battle, and you can see the relief on some of the soldiers' face whenever you would teach them some of these techniques, and you could just feel the relief, the comfort that they felt going downrange. So it was a dream job. It was something that I was proud to do in the Army. I got out of the Army, and I went from one dream job to another one. So I went from training soldiers how to fight downrange to being a professional fighter, and here we are today. I'm still living that dream.
But before you got into the military, had fighting, had combat sports, had that been something that intrigued you, that was an interest of yours?
Yeah, it wasn't something that I wasn't an avid fan of the sport. I would say one of the first fights that I saw was Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock, and it was awesome, you know what I mean? But it wasn't something I was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. The next fight that I saw, or another fight that I saw along that time frame, was the Ultimate Fighter finale. And whenever I saw that was another aha moment for me. Whenever I was like, man, this might be something that I like to do. Just seeing Stephen Bonner and Forrest Griffin just have this war of attrition and just jockeying for positions, and the tide would turn with every strike that was thrown, and it was just something that was unbelievable to me. Something that you see in movies, you know, one guy has the upper hand, and then the next round the other guy does. So once I saw that fight, that was something like I said, was an aha moment. Like, man, this is definitely something that I can do. and those were two of the main fights that definitely got me hooked with the sport and made me think about potentially doing it in the future.
And watching the sport, are there any guys that you started trying to pick and use their style?
Like right now, towards in my game today.
Well, from when you first started, from those original guys, were there guys that you emulated when you first started training?
I've always been a huge fan of striking, so Jose Aldo has always been one of my favorite fighters, just because his striking is so dynamic and so explosive. Like, he doesn't give anyone a chance to even get close to him. I mean, until Conor McGregor, obviously, but he was someone who I definitely try to mimic. Early in my career, Brandon Vera was someone who I really looked up to, and I try to mimic his style, as well as Thiago Alves. So early in my career, the guys who I try to mimic and copy their styles were definitely strikers like that, Muay Thai specialists.
And as your game has progressed, whose styles have you been kind of picking from now?
I would say now, still Jose Aldo, like I said. I've been watching a lot of his tapes for this specific camp because I know what my opponent's going to do, or what he's going to try to do. He's going to try to take me down. He wants no part of the stand-up with me. There's no way he's going to want to stand with me. He's going to get touched to something, and it's going to be shoot city. So I've been watching Jose Aldo and watching him be able to stuff takedowns, like whenever he fought Chad Mendez and other notable names, other notable wrestlers who he's been able to stuff their takedowns. And you can just kind of see whenever you're a superior striker and you stuff these guys, how much they deflate. And Rivaldo Jr. is no exception. In his past fights, he's the type of fighter, if he's the hammer, he's doing fantastic, and you can see the confidence in him. But as soon as he becomes a nail, he deflates, he gives up. So that's something that I've really tried to mimic. Like I said, Jose Aldo, stuffing takedowns and just punishing them for even trying to take you down anymore. So Jose Aldo for sure. TJ Dillashaw's movement is absolutely amazing. The angles he creates, and just guys like that. You know, I don't mimic it to where I'm copying it to a T, but there's certain things you can learn from every fighter, and that's something that I pride myself on, being a veteran of the sport. I mean, I already have 15. This is going to be my 15th professional fight. I still try to learn constantly from fighters, even guys who aren't on the big stage. There's amateurs in my gym who, if they catch me with something on the stand-up or something like that, I have to, I ask them what's going on or whatever, and they're able to teach me what I'm missing or whatever. You know, you just can't stop learning. You can't let your ego get so big that you're just like, that's it, I know everything. So I'm not afraid to ask questions and mimic styles, because that's just part of the sport.
And that's that true, right there, that's that true martial arts mentality. Always learning, always something new to finding. Now, you pointed it out, the other most asked question you had is, what has changed over those last 6 fights to, get you in the win streak? What's been that? Not to mention, I mean, one of those losses, Steven Peterson, it's not like that's another world-class fighter, so no shame in that one, you know.
I would say just falling back in love with the sport. Early in my career, I liked the sport, and it was something that I was having fun doing, and I was getting good paychecks doing it, but I wasn't in love with the sport. Like, whenever I was fighting in the military, whenever I was an amateur, those days I was infatuated with it, you know, and once I fell back in love with the sport, it's allowed me to kind of have fun with it, and like what I'm doing again. Whenever I had that period of 2 losses, I was putting so much into the MMA basket, or in my MMA career, that I was just neglecting a whole bunch of other things like family. And I'm also a full-time student. My grades suffered substantially whenever I was putting everything I had into being a fighter. But now that I've learned how to separate my time, I am excelling in all 3 aspects. 1 being a father, 2 a student, and 3 a fighter. So whenever I'm in the training room, I'm training harder than anyone. And I can say that because I've been all around the world training, and I've trained with some of the best in the world. There's not a lot of people that have the work ethic I do, and I can say that comfortably. But whenever I'm not training, I'm spending time with my family. I'm working on my studies. I know I can't fight forever, man. The the lifespan of a fighter isn't 20 or 30 years. You know, you have a short amount of time to make a statement in the game and to do what you need to do. And after that, it tends to go away. You know, so I'm pursuing my degree, and like I said, being a father is something that I pride myself on as well. You know, I try to make sure I'm spending time with my family, at least setting aside a couple hours a day to make sure I'm spending time with my girls, and I don't want to be out of their lives, you know. So that's something that I was doing whenever I was focusing all of my attention towards MMA, and I just got burnt out. So just really learning how to separate my time and enjoying all aspects of my life, not just being a fighter.
I gotta figure that, you know, an iced tea party or dressing up like a princess, it's gotta be pretty relaxing after, you know, getting punched in the face all day.
I'm getting a pedicure with my daughter as we speak. So we're doing family time right now, and it's something that I enjoy, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's fight week. I'm not training hard. I'm just enjoying time. So best of both worlds. I'm healing my body, and I'm spending time with my little girl. So yeah, it's good having a little tea party and been watching cartoons all week, man. Life's good, brother.
It's all about balance. How long did it take to find that balance?
I would say about 2 or 3 years into my career. Whenever I suffered those 2 losses, I actually retired. I told everyone in the game, I was like, you know what, I retired from the sport. I don't want to do this anymore. Like I said, I wasn't having fun with it. And I spent some time in New Mexico at Jackson's MMA. I lived with Cowboy Cerrone and Leonard. And I got to see the way that they were living life. And like I said, whenever they were in the training room, they were giving it all they had. But whenever they weren't, man, we were at the lake. We were swimming. We were skiing on the boat and stuff like that, playing ultimate frisbee. So whenever they weren't in the training room, fighting was the last thing that they were thinking about. So until I really implemented that into my life, which wasn't right after I left Jackson's. There was some time where I still was hard-headed and I was stuck to my ways. But until I learned to implement that into my life is whenever my 6-fight win streak has come and dominating opponents. You know, like, I also pride myself on fighting tough opponents. Like, out of the 6 guys who I've beat, one has been a UFC veteran, and Joseph Sandoval. One has also been a Bellator vet, and Art Arciniega, and he's also currently the Tachi Palace 145-pound champion. So I pride myself on fighting tough competition because once I get to the big show, there's not going to be any easy fights. And I kind of look down on these guys who had their record to be 15-0 or whatever. You know, they're going to get their losses once they get to the big show. So I'm trying to fight the toughest outside of the big show. That way, whenever I get to the UFC, I'm comfortable. I'm ready to go.
Talking to you right now, looking back at your record, I'm almost surprised that we get the opportunity to talk to you to talk about this fight that Combate Americas didn't, you know, try to lock you down and sign you to a big contract and keep you. Was that situation out there?
Man, I can't really speak too much about the Combate situation, but there were some things that they were doing that I wasn't a fan of. I asked for my release from the contract, and they were able to give it to me. I'll say this: I'm an American, and I'm a proud American. I served my country for 6 years, and there's nothing that I would do to sacrifice that. So that's all I'll say on the interview. I haven't really spoke too much about it, but I asked them for the release. Like I said, Combate is an amazing show. They're on UFC Fight Pass, but some of the stuff that they were asking me to do, I wasn't comfortable with. And now I'm main eventing the LFA card here in San Antonio, so everything's worked out perfect.
Main eventing this card, San Antonio, fighting at home. Tell us about that, your backyard, what that means for you this week and come fight night.
It's huge. Being able to fight in my backyard it's a feeling that not a lot of fighters get to feel a lot, or as much as I have. You know, San Antonio, we've been able to put on a lot of great shows with RFA, or Legacy, and now LFA. So fighting in my backyard, it's amazing to me. I get to wake up or sleep in my own bed, have a home-cooked meal before the fight, and this guy's he's coming into hostile territory. Yes, he's living in San Antonio, but he's from Brazil. So this is my backyard. You know, he's coming into my home, and there's no way he's leaving with a W on March 10th. I refuse to lose in front of my home crowd, and I've trained my ass off, man. I've never trained as hard as I have for Rivaldo Jr., and I promise you I'm going to showcase a whole new skill set on March 10th with LFA.
with your skill set, we talked about it. He's going to be looking to take you to the ground. You're going to be looking to use your strikes. But it's not like you're a schlub on the ground. I mean, of this win streak, 5 wins by submission. I know he's going to be comfortable there, but is it almost tempting fate to take it somewhere you've been so successful lately?
Yeah, what a lot of people don't understand is, I mean, from the outside looking in, looking at my record, it looks like I'm a submission. It looks like I'm a ground fighter, but the true story is what happens is the bell rings and these guys get touched with something, and they want nothing to do with the stand-up. So they shoot. They just shoot, and they do these half-ass shots, and they get caught. You know, one of my last fights, 3 fights ago, was against Tristan Grimsley, and he was just, by the 3rd round, he wanted nothing else to do with the stand-up. So by the time it got to the ground, he was done for. As soon as we got to the ground, within, I would say, a minute or so, I submitted him. So from the outside looking in, it looks like I'm a jiu-jitsu specialist, which I'm proud of my jiu-jitsu. I train with some of the best black belts in the world today, but I consider myself a striker. And Rivaldo's, if the fight happens to get to the ground, he's going to feel the wrath of Ohana Jiu-Jitsu because, man, my jiu-jitsu is amazing too. A lot of people are saying that if we get to the ground, then he has the advantage, and if it's on the feet, then I have the advantage. But I'll tell you what, man, if it gets to the ground, I'm not looking to survive. I'm looking to hunt, and I'm not afraid of his jiu-jitsu. You know, this is MMA. He is a black belt, and I do respect that. But I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time, and my jiu-jitsu transitions well into MMA. And I mean, obviously you can see with my record. So if the fight does get to the ground, if I want this fight to go to the ground at some point of the fight, I'm completely comfortable, and I'm looking to hunt for a submission too. Getting a submission over a black belt would be a huge feather in my cap, and that's not something that's too far-fetched, man.
You get the win on Friday night. It's a 7-fight win streak. Are you calling for the UFC, or are you calling for Kevin Aguilar?
Man, I'm actually a bantamweight fighter, man, so I wanted this fight with Rivaldo for a reason. He's a bigger opponent. He's a black belt. And his style, thank you, and his style is the style that has beaten me in the past. Guys who are going to take me down, try to hold me down and let that clock run out for 15 minutes. So I went up a weight class. I'm fighting a black belt, and I'm ready to show the world that the Ray Rodriguez of old is gone, and Ray Rodriguez 2.0 is here to stay. After this fight, I plan on going back to bantamweight, and I want the LFA bantamweight title. Like I said, I've fought at 145. My last fight with Combate Americas, or 2 fights ago with Combate, I fought at 145 because I don't want to get into too much, but there was just kind of some shady miscommunication, I'll say. And I thought there was going to be 2 weigh-ins, the weigh-in the day of the fight, or day before the fight, and one the day of. And come to find out, the day of weigh-ins, I asked when the next weigh-in was, or the following day, and they kind of looked at me crazy. So I fought at 145. I'll just chalk it up to a miscommunication. My last fight was supposed to be at 135 against Ulysses Aguilar, but he pulled out a week before the fight with, to be honest, I believe with some bullshit. He said that he was hurt. He had broke his hand 5 weeks ago, and he called a week before the fight to pull out. So the only opponent they could find me was a 145er. His record wasn't stellar, but that's the only fight that I can get, and I needed to fight. I mean, 1, financially, and 2, for my mental well-being to release everything from camp. So my past couple fights have been at 145, but I'm a bantamweight fighter. I walk around no bigger than 160 pounds, and 135 isn't hard for me to get at all. It's something I've had a lot of fights in. And so to answer your question, yeah, if LFA wants me to fight Kevin Aguilar for 145 the 145 title, I'm more than happy. But my optimum weight class is at 135. My optimum weight class is at 135, and I would rather fight there. But if we do fight at 145, I'm happy to make a statement at 145 too. So if that spot opens up for the world title with LFA, then I'm happy. And if UFC sees this highlight knockout in the first round and they're like, I want Ray Rodriguez on my roster, then we're going to the UFC.
And now for the UFC, same deal. Wherever you'd want me, I'd fight at 45, 35. Or again, I'd rather 35.
No, if the UFC wants me at 145, and they would rather me fight at 145, and that's something I'll do too. Like I said, I'm here to make a statement in the bantamweight and featherweight division. So if the UFC wants me at 145, then I'm ready to go at 145. But like I said, my optimum weight class is 135. If they want me to be at 145, then I'll just continue to drink Lone Star beer and eat Whataburger and keep my weight up for 145. And if they want me at 135, then I'll just have to watch my weight a little bit more.
Oh, those magic words. Whataburger. Gotta love a green chili double.
Oh, man, you gotta have that patty melt, brother. Have you had the patty melt?
Oh, I've tried it before. I love the green chili they have. The roasted.
It's epic. It's epic. Anything on that menu, man, is killer.
And then as we're talking about all this fight stuff, what's the plans with the family? How do you relax? How do you get away from all this afterwards?
We have some plans too. We're gonna go to we got Fiesta, Texas, here in San Antonio to Six Flags Park. I'm gonna take the family to a lot of eating, man. I have a couple places I need to go. I'm gonna get some pizza, some Tex-Mex food, and then I don't know. We're maybe even looking at a vacation to California. So after the fight, I'm gonna take a couple weeks off, maybe about a week and a half off to really just spend time with the family. I got to catch up on schoolwork because it's training camp. It's just kind of falling behind. So after the fight, we just kind of go back into normal life and get ready for the call for either the big show or get ready for that world title.
You bring up school. Can we ask what's your major?
Yeah. I'm majoring in kinesiology at the University of Incarnate Word, and I'm minoring in nutrition. So I'll have my degree in the fall of this year, my bachelor's degree, and then I'm going on to physical therapy school. So it's a long-term goal, but we're getting it slowly but surely.
Are you looking to help people recover from injuries? Are you looking in the athlete development? What are you hoping to do with that degree?
Well, I'm actually going to apply to PT and OT school. So whether it's physical therapy or occupational therapy, I'd be happy with either. OT is more along the lines of helping patients get back to doing everyday things like brushing their teeth or shaving, or especially if they're coming off of injuries or elderly patients, or there's just different circumstances where they're not able to do things that they've done in the past. And if I do get into physical therapy, then working with athletes would be a dream job. But like I said, this is long term. This is after we got the UFC run. That's after I've got the LFA title and the UFC title around my waist and I retire. So these are long term goals, but it's something that I do need, like I said, to fall back on because the lifespan of a fighter isn't too long.
LFA 6 this Friday on Access TV, or if you can make it out to San Antonio, Texas, be there live. Ray Rodriguez, I got to thank you for the time. Last but not least, who did you need to thank and shout out to?
Just anyone who supported me, man, in my journey to where I am today. Thank you so much. If you bought a ticket, if you bought a raffle ticket, if you sent good vibes, if you liked any of my posts on social media, thank you so much. Also, my sponsors, Lone Star Beer, Arosty Rehab, Zedric's Fit with Flavor, A&D Lawns, PRG Asset Recovery, Alamo City Cryotherapy, Revolutus Bone Face, Lone Star Beer again. Thank you guys so much for the support, man. I wouldn't be able to pursue my dream if it wasn't for all of my sponsors, friends, family, and fans. Thank you guys so much. Tune in March 10th, LFA, San Antonio, Texas. Be ready to watch a brutal knockout.
And then last but not least, forgot about it. Could you tell everybody how they could follow you if they're not on social media?
Social media is probably the best way to find all of my posts. I do a lot of highlight films and training videos and stuff like that. So any social media outlet that you have, you just search Ray the Judge, and I promise you I'll be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any social media outlet, I'll be on there. If not there, I have all of my fights on YouTube, highlight videos, training videos, etc. Everything on YouTube. You just search Ray the Judge Rodriguez, and you can find all of my videos on there.
Awesome, sir. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, bro.